Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Discover Materials Science podcast, brought to you as always from the IMDEA Materials Institute in Madrid, Spain. I'm your host, Andrew Johnston. Let's get this show on the road. The topic of today's podcast is the role of novel materials in healthcare. On that subject, we'll talk with IMDEA Materials researcher Dr. Jesús Ordoño on the development of shape memory alloys for intelligent implants. Jesús will also share with us a little about his experience as part of a European Space Agency program for researchers studying the effect of cosmic radiation on astronauts. We'll then speak with Dr. Pedro Navarrete, a member of our Biomaterials and Regenerative Medicine research group, who is currently involved in an exciting research project, CardioBoost CM, to find new ways to bioengineer myocardial tissue to repair damaged heart muscles. And we'll talk to Dr. Raquel Sánchez, who has spent the past 6 months working on the Retoven project to create a new wearable device capable of helping patients suffering from poor blood circulation. All of that coming up on this edition of Discover Materials Science with IMDEA Materials. So let's jump right in. So now I am joined by Jesús Ordoño, a postdoctoral researcher here at IMDEA Materials in our micromechanics and nanomechanics research group led by Dr. John Molina. Jesús, first of all, thank you for joining us. And I was hoping that just to start, your work is on using shape memory alloys for intelligent implants. Can you just give us a general outline of what this research involves?
Sure. So first of all, thanks for inviting me here today, Andrew. So as you mentioned, my project is about the use of shape memory alloys for intelligent implants. Shape memory alloys are special alloys, metals with some unique properties. For example, you can just deform these materials as any other materials, but after heating, they can recover their original shape. This is what we call the shape memory effect. These same materials, in addition, and under a certain range of temperatures, can also be deformed up to 10%, which is quite a lot for a metal, and again recover the original shape upon unloading. So this is what it's called superelasticity, and these two properties make shape memory alloys very interesting for different biomedical applications.
So I guess my obvious question here is if these alloys demonstrate these amazing properties, why is this not something that's been explored more extensively in previous research?
The problem with these alloys is that fabrication, synthesis, and processing are quite difficult and costly for these shape memory alloys, especially considering that every patient may need a specific size, a specific shape of an implant. As an example, the size and diameter of a cardiac valve won't be the same for a 2-meter tall adult than for a 12-year-old kid. And here is where our project is helping. We are combining the use of those shape memory alloys with 3D printing technology so we can achieve personalized and complicated structures with the great properties of shape memory alloys.
So I'm interested by the use of the word intelligent here in relation to your research. Not in terms of your intelligence, but in terms of intelligent implants. What do you mean by intelligent in that context?
So in this case, the term intelligent or smart implant means that the structure is capable of evolving in time with the patient or upon a stimulus. Imagine the same previous example of a cardiac valve for a small kid. The heart of that kid will grow and she will require a new replacement, a new implant every, couple or few years. So in our project, we are taking advantage of those incredible properties of shape memory alloys that can change their shape to design and explore different geometries by 3D printing that can evolve with the patient and grow with them. So imagine again a cardiac valve that upon heating can be expanded, can grow as the patient grows as well without requiring a new surgical intervention or an implant replacement.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess in this context, the primary objective is to avoid the need for those surgical interventions, because every time, I imagine that you, not being a heart surgeon myself, but every time you need to implant something into the body or into the heart is a major invasive surgery.
Exactly. This is one of the main challenges of biomedical implants, especially when treating kids or childs that they grow, and of course they may need a replacement sooner or later.
So in terms of the specific project that you are working on, which is the aptly named Implants project, financed by the Community of Madrid, this is specifically focused on cardiovascular applications. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. For now, we are focusing on cardiovascular applications, in particular cardiovascular stents, because those are relatively easy implants to start with, because we are, let's say, just starting to explore the use of 3D printing to fabricate these new materials. So we are evaluating the feasibility of printing different shapes, optimizing parameters, and doing a lot of characterization, mechanical or biological. So there is still a lot of work to do, and by the moment we are focusing on cardiovascular stents, but this work will definitely pave the way to not only other biomedical implants, but also transport, energy, or even space applications.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned space applications, because that's a great segue to my next question, which relates to the fact that this summer you were chosen to participate in a program organized by the European Space Agency in conjunction, I believe, with the Facility for Antiproton and Ion Research in Europe, to do research on biomedicine and biomaterials related to space exploration, which is fascinating to me. And I also understand that you were the only Spanish researcher to be chosen from candidates across Europe for this opportunity. So just tell me a little bit more about this program.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. So the European Space Agency, in partnership with the International Accelerator Center FAIR in Germany, organizes this summer school, this program for PhD students and postdocs to impulse research on one of the topics or one of the many risks that human exploration will eventually face, which is cosmic radiation.
And tell me a little bit more about that in detail, as to the threat that cosmic radiation actually poses to astronauts or people traveling in space.
Yeah, so space is a whole new environment, very different from Earth. As mentioned before, people in space is exposed to a huge amount of radiation coming from the stars and other sources. And without a proper protection, we here on Earth, we have the atmosphere to protect us. But outside here, this radiation poses a severe risk to the human body in the form of cancer, central nervous system disorders, cardiovascular problems, or tissue degeneration. Apart from that, the space environment, as you can imagine, there is no gravity there, or very low gravity. And this also affects a lot of different processes. So the space environment is plenty of both challenges and opportunities. Challenges because things that work here on Earth may not work there in space, as for instance, the effect of some drugs. Or we don't know if our shape memory alloys will still keep these properties in that new environment. So there is a lot of research that must be done before people can have a wide access to space travel. But I also said opportunities because it can happen the other way around. Things that are impossible here may be possible in space. So we can help. So this environment can help us to synthesize new drugs or develop new alloys with unique properties, fabricate new biomaterials or new structures that can directly have a real impact in current diseases here on Earth or the biomedical sector on Earth.
And I guess this is particularly relevant now that we are, increasingly looking at going to Mars and this kind of thing, and space travel that involves people spending more time in space, no?
So exactly, as the space agency, they are searching for ways to go into Mars and increase the time we are exposed to space. The space environment, this research is more than needed to better understand what's the effect of those. radiation and low gravity on humans.
And is this kind of an area of research that you had specifically thought about being involved in, not just biomedicine and biomaterials, but this line of research in the space environment, or was it an opportunity that came up and you just took it?
Well, I have to admit that I've always been fascinated about human exploration and space research since I was a kid, actually. And I've always been looking forward to apply my research to this sector because I found it fascinating and this is plenty of opportunities. So when I saw this program, this opportunity, I realized it could be beneficial for our project, actually. As I mentioned, the applications for 3D printed shape memory alloys extends to a wide range of sectors. And eventually, astronauts and people living in space will need the use of implants or tissue replacements. So I didn't hesitate and applied for it without very much hope, I have to say, because they only admitted 15 researchers from all around Europe, as you mentioned. But luckily, I was selected, and I'm very, very excited to start this new project.
Okay, well, I think that's all we have time for today, but thanks for joining us, Jesus, and hopefully we can speak again at a later date, and you can share with us some of the advances that you've made as part of the implants project and with your research in general.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks again for inviting me here today.
So now I'm joined by researcher Pedro Navarrete, who's a member of our Biomaterials and Regenerative Medicine research group led by Dr. Jennifer Patterson. First of all, Pedro, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And can you just give us a brief overview of your background and your role here at IMDEA Materials Institute to start?
Yes, of course. Well, I'm a chemist, but during my research career, I had the opportunity to move to other countries and expand my knowledge to different fields like the material science, nanotechnology, or biology. Then I became a more versatile researcher, let's say. Currently, as a Juan de la Cierva postdoctoral fellow here in the Institute in the Biomaterials group, as you mentioned, my main focus is to apply this knowledge to contribute to different health-related projects.
Thanks very much, Pedro. Now, from what I understand, your work primarily revolves around the tissue regeneration. What is it that drew you to this field of scientific research in particular?
Well, it started with my doctoral thesis, where my goal was the 3D printing of bioceramic-based scaffolds for bone tissue engineering. Then the world of 3D printing technologies has always intrigued me. What better way to explore it than developing biomaterials that can potentially enhance healthcare treatments and, for example, improve the people's well-being.
Now, talking more specifically, you are currently working here at IMDEA Materials Institute as part of the Cardio Boost project, which is financed by the Community of Madrid. And that project is specifically focused on developing a new method of bioengineering myocardial tissue, or we can say heart tissue, for those who have suffered a heart attack. Can you go into a bit more detail about this particular project?
Yeah, well, it is known that the lack of regenerative stem cells in the heart hinders its recovery after a heart attack. Then, with this project, we aim to generate stem cells derived cardiomyocytes that are the most common cells in the heart and are responsible for recovering the heart functionality. That could be employed to restore the damaged heart after suffering a heart attack by transplanting them. Then, inspired by the human embryonic development, we believe that functional cardiomyocytes can be generated by differentiating skeletal muscle stem cells from the masticatory muscle, the muscle from the jaw, since they share a common embryonic origin with the ventricular muscle.
Because as I understand, one of the problems with the heart is that it is not as, basically we could say, as effective at repairing itself as some of the other muscles found in the body, correct?
Exactly, that's the idea, yes.
Okay. Now, continuing on speaking about Cardio Boost, now you were recently a presenter representing IMDEA Materials at the Falling Walls Lab Madrid event, where you were one of a number of young researchers from across Spain showcasing an innovative idea that provides a solution to one of the current challenges facing society. It's kind of like a pitch. No, you have 2.5 minutes to present your idea to a panel of a jury.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, your presentation was focused on the work you're doing within the CardioBoost project. How was that experience?
Well, the event in general was wonderful. The day before the presentation, we had the opportunity to listen very inspiring and top-level talks from several renowned researchers here in Spain. Indeed, one of the things that I most enjoyed was the chance to connect with some of the most promising young minds here in Spain, each one having very great ideas to defy the challenge the society is facing nowadays.
Okay. And I mean, talking about, solving some of these great challenges that society is facing, as part of this project and your work in general with tissue engineering, I mean, how does it feel to be working on something that, if it turns out as you hope and as you expect, is going to have such a big impact for so many people? I mean, you're quite literally mending broken hearts.
Yeah. Well, it is truly impressive. Knowing that our innovative concept could bring hope to millions of people suffering from heart conditions is an incredibly humbling and motivating experience, for sure.
I mean, there was a really interesting statistic. I don't remember if it came up in your presentation at Falling Walls or if we were speaking about it before, but you mentioned that the number of people that either will themselves experience heart problems or will know a friend or family member who will experience these kind of health problems. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I mentioned during the presentation that about 1 in 3 of the people attending the event will have an experience related to a cardiovascular disease that could be directly affecting them or one of their relatives or family members, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible statistic when you think, I mean, more than 30% of people are going to suffer from a problem in this regard. So really, really valuable research. Well, thank you very much, Pedro, for your time.
Thank you for inviting me, Andrew.
And to finish with, we're now going to share the audio of Pedro's recent presentation at Falling Walls Lab Madrid, where he was the winner of the Public Choice Award. Congratulations, by the way, for that. And here is his presentation, Breaking the Wall of Cardiac Regeneration.
Experience related to a heart attack or a stroke, which may personally affect you or one of your family members. Since cardiovascular diseases represent the 32% of all global deaths, according to the World Health Organization. When skeletal muscle is damaged, it can regenerate using muscle stem cells that proliferate, differentiate, and repair the muscle fibers. However, in the case of a heart attack, the myocardium lacks the necessary stem cells needed for regeneration. As a result, the damaged heart tissue dies, leading to scar formation and loss of functionality. Then the question arises, can we redirect these muscle stem cells to produce functional cardiomyocytes implanted in the heart, address this issue? Well, this idea has a significant challenge since differentiating these cells results in the formation of skeletal muscle, which has different characteristics from the heart. However, drawing inspiration from developmental biology, a remarkable connection has been discovered between certain muscles, like the masticatory muscles and the ventricular cardiomyocytes. Stem cells derived from these muscles can be redirected to produce cells with cardiomyocyte characteristics. Then, to ensure the success, a group of interdisciplinary experts has been gathered in a project called CardioBoost. Our ongoing work program aims to produce functional cardiomyocytes by extracting stem cells from mouse masticatory muscles. By leveraging cutting-edge technologies based on biomaterials, tissue engineering, and 3D printing, we aim to enhance the differentiation, the quantity, and quality of these cardiomyocytes and evaluate their effectiveness in mouse models with infarcted hearts. Our innovative concept shows promise for future clinical applications by bringing hope to millions of patients with heart conditions and by recovering damaged hearts to full functionality. In that way, we could break the wall of cardiac regeneration. Thank you very much.
Now I'm joined by Raquel Sánchez, who is a postdoctoral researcher currently here at IMDEA Materials Institute. So first of all, Raquel, thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for inviting me. And yes, I started to work here at IMDEA 4 months ago. So I almost knew.
Perfect. Now I wanted to jump straight into the project that you're working on. Because it's quite an interesting project. You're currently working on the Retoven project, and that's actually a collaboration with the Madrid-based health technology company ZoeTech to create a new wearable device to improve blood circulation. So just tell me a little bit about this project.
Yeah, so exactly as you mentioned, the Retoven project, it's actually a collaboration between the company ZoeTech and the High Performance Polymer Nanocomposites group here at IMDEA Materials Institute. And our mission is to develop a game-changing biomedical device that improves blood circulation. So in this project, we are combining the fields of biomedical engineering, material science, and fashion to make this happen. And let me tell you, it's going to make a real difference in the lives of people dealing with circulation issues. It's a very exciting fusion between technology and healthcare, and we're very thrilled to be part of it.
Okay, I like that you have that focus on fashion there, because I mean if you're creating a wearable device, it not only has to work and function, but it has to be something that people want to wear and are willing to wear as well. So tell me a little bit more about the device itself and how this treatment will actually benefit those who are suffering from conditions relating to poor blood circulation beyond the treatments that are currently available.
So our device focuses on enhancing the venous return system, which plays a crucial role in overall body circulation. And the goal is to alleviate the symptoms and complications associated with poor blood circulation, such as edema or varicose veins or venous insufficiency. So using different innovative technologies and advanced biomaterials with very unique properties, our device will provide a gentle and controlled compression to the target limb. And by stimulating this lymphatic and venous system, we will be able to provide this improvement in blood circulation. So it will be designed to be wearable, comfortable, non-invasive, and user-friendly, making it really easy to be incorporated into the daily life. What sets our device apart is the ability to go beyond the existing treatments. So while other treatments may focus on managing symptoms or specific conditions, our device targets the root causes of poor blood circulation. And by enhancing this venous return, it has the potential to deliver more comprehensive and long-lasting benefits for individuals with these conditions.
Okay, great. Now you're obviously not working alone on this project. Maybe you can just give a bit of a shout out to the other researchers that you're working with, and also talk a little bit about your specific role within this team.
Of course, I'm not alone in this journey, and I work closely with a diverse team of talented scientists and medical professionals. So from IMDEA, we have Dr. Wang Zongjing and Professor Deyu Wan, and from ZoeTech, we have Zoe Seoane and Jorge Garcia. And this group is created to ensure a comprehensive and robust project plan. And by harnessing this collective expertise and working synergistically, we strive to create an innovative and impactful solution through the Retoven project. So for me, as one of the main researchers of the project, my role is part of driving these development efforts to create this awesome biomedical device that we have here. So I'm particularly focused on the technical aspects and the design functionality by building a device that meets the project's objectives for this year and serves the needs of the patients and healthcare professionals. And I'm always keeping up with the latest scientific literature, any cool tech advances to find different innovative approaches that we can apply to the design and development of the Retoven device.
Okay. Now, on the podcast today in general, we're talking about the topic of materials and, the topic of materials development as it relates to healthcare. Now, you're an expert in biomedical technologies, biomaterials, and tissue engineering. How did you get into this line of research?
Yeah, so I actually did my undergraduate studies in industrial engineering at Universidad Politécnica de Madrid. And while I was studying there, I became deeply passionate about the potential of 3D printing in healthcare. I discovered 3D printing for the first time. And then from that, I wanted to further explore the possibilities of 3D printing for healthcare. So I decided to embark on a PhD journey at Queensland University of Technology in Australia. And my research over there was focused on utilizing multi-writing, which is a very specific 3D printing technique, to develop scaffolds for skin regeneration. So I wanted to explore this technology specifically in the context of percutaneous devices, because I was over there working with in collaboration with a hospital.
Okay, great. Now, one of the things that interests me about RetoVen as a project, is that sometimes scientific research, I think it can feel quite, abstract. It can sometimes take years between starting a project and seeing the real world results or the impact. But one of the really interesting things about this project is that you started this year and you actually hope to have a working prototype by the end of 2023.
Yes.
Which is, light speed in relative terms. I mean, does it make it easier for you as a researcher to have that goal and that deadline on the horizon?
Yeah, so definitely having a clear goal and a clear deadline, like getting this working prototype by the end of the year, really gets me motivated and focused, definitely, because otherwise there's no way to do it. And even though the timeline is tight, it really helps me to prioritize my tasks and make the most out of my resources. So I can make smart decisions by streamlining my methods, putting experiments in order, and taking the best routes for progress. And the idea is to start with a basic prototype and then refine it in later stages to speed up the development of the RetoVen device.
Okay, well, thank you very much for speaking with us today, Raquel, and hopefully we might be able to have you back on the podcast later this year and talk a little bit more about the developments that come out of the RetoVen project.
Of course. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Well, that's all we have time for today on this edition of Discover Materials Science with IMDEA Materials Institute. I'd like to thank my guests, Dr. Jesús Ordoño, Dr. Pedro Navarrete, and Dr. Raquel Sánchez, and keep an eye out for next month's podcast, where we'll be going in-depth into the fascinating world of 3D and 4D printing. I've been your host, Andrew Johnston. Thank you for listening, and bye for now.